everybody. I'm going to be talking a little softer because it's the middle of the night. Although I'm usually up till all hours, so this isn't that late for me. But my husband is upstairs asleep, so I'm going to try to keep it down a little bit. This one is going to be a little different because we're going to start with something I made the other day and try to do more with it because I like it, but it needs something. It's missing something, and I'm not sure what yet. But I think I'd just like to see something a little different happening with the overall geometry of this thing. But before we start tweaking too much, let me just show you what's going on. So there's another artist who works with Touchdesigner and posts his stuff to Instagram and does a lot more installation work outside of that and things like that. His name's Alex Guevara, or at least that's his IG handle, and he does a lot of really cool shifting feedback controlled particle clouds that I have been wanting to figure out how to emulate and just work with for quite a while, and I was overthinking it a bit. I don't know if this is the method he uses. In fact, I would eventually guess it's probably not, but I got something that looked pretty compelling where we have geometry that's what's happening is that we have a feedback loop. We have geometry running from a SOP here. All right, let's just start at the beginning. So we have a sphere SOP coming in with quite a high level of detail to give us a lot of particles to work with in our system here. I added a noise here, but I have it bypassed because if I integrate this noise to change the overall shape of the sphere, it just tanks my frame rate. Like if I click this, watch the frames per second, it's going to go down to almost nothing. Yeah. So, and I mean, it's doing some interesting stuff, granted, but 3 frames per second is not really what I want to work with. It's very hard to tell what the end product of this might look like without rendering it. So, although I might do that later just to see what this looks like when played at its full frame rate. Anyway, just so we can let this run in real time. So this all starts with the sphere sub. In fact, let me just go ahead and start. Do I want to do that? No, I don't think I do. All right, I'm just going to tell you what's going on. All right, so there is a song controlling what's happening in the background here to some extent, and I'll get into that later. But what we have going on here is we have our sphere. Then we bring it into a different operator class so we can work with it a little more easily. So what I have done here is I have a SOP2 chop, and then I have my normals turned on here, and then with these 2 selects, I have picked all of my translate values by entering T star, and then I grabbed all of my normal values by entering N asterisk rather, not star, whatever, you know what it is. So I have my translate channels here and I have my normal channels here. It's just kind of cool to be able to separate those when we get to the instancing level. I sent these out to nulls. I guess I probably could have gotten away without it, but I wasn't sure if I was going to add anything in here, and I may still, and we still want all these paths to hook up if we do decide to change something after a select here. In the chop section, we obviously do that a good bit here in the top section. All right, so this is a little sloppy here. I didn't really clean this up, but we took both of these chops and took them. I took both of these and brought them into the top realm with a chop to top. And I did that for both my translate values here and my normal values down here. Suppose I could have labeled these, but whatever. Translates up here, normals here. And then from there, most of the work has been done on the translate values. What I did, if we actually, I wonder what this will look like if I just bypass all this. Okay, so I think that is just a huge circle with lots of particles, and so we're seeing just kind of the weird patterns that happen when you have a shape that big converted into its vertices. It's pretty cool looking, but kind of hard to see. And I think we're having the changes dynamically happening here because we have some animations on the camera. And the light, where did everything go? Okay, all right, there we go. That was what I was trying to illustrate. So this whole thing's a sphere. Yeah, it's all fascinating, I'm sure. Why is it still bouncing? I think that's because I have the FOV angle animated as well. So there we go. All right, everything is stopped. I'll even bypass the post-render stuff. So we should just see, yeah, all right, so there we go. There's our sphere. Let me make this a square. That didn't help anything. Zoom this out a bit. All right, there is our sphere. So if we, so that just kind of shows, what's happening in this path going from SOP to chop to top, without adding any of the interference in the middle. We just wind up with, well, actually, there's another step we have to do, instancing, to actually get this shape. But what we've done is just converted. We've just converted this to formats that we can do different things with. There are way more options in terms of adding feedback loops and more generative kinds of behaviors when we're working in tops rather than SOPs. You saw how CPU heavy the noise SOP was. So anyway, if we're wanting to work in real time, we kind of need to make use of putting some of our generative stuff in tops. So anyway, that's why I converted it this way. Just gave me way more to work with in terms of coming up with some cool behavior. So what we did once we got into the top environment is we needed to set up instancing so we could actually visualize all of the particles in our system here. So we did that with a little rectangle SOP, little tiny rectangles. 0.0005 is the size. Suppose I could scale those up a little so you can see them better. There we go. So we have little tiny rectangles at every vertex on our original sphere, and at each vertex we have one of these. So what's happening is they're all turning to face the direction depending on where they are in the sphere. So that's what normals are. They're the perpendicular vector coming off of any given point on the surface of the sphere. So that gives kind of depth information. Like if this shape were moving or had topography that wasn't smooth, each little rectangle would reorient itself accordingly. So that's kind of why we split these. Just because what it allows us to do is it allows us to add different behavior to the normals of our shape than it does to just the x, y, and z coordinates of our points. Yeah. So if you don't believe me, just wait. So anyway, yeah. So we make a tiny little rectangle, and then we bang that out to a geo, and we create our typical render network here with a camera and a light. And then since I'm using a look at camera, I get a null set up for my look at for both my light and my camera. And then I get my render top set up here, and then I get the rest of my network created. So there we go. That's a long-winded version of what happened here. So so anyway, we want this sphere to actually do some stuff. So let me reconnect what I have here, and then we can talk through that part of it. All right, there we go. So it's doing stuff. Cool. All right, so what we're looking at, every time it kind of changes or like it hits a beat here, I'll turn the volume up for a second so you can hear the music that's going on. Okay. Anyway, so we have the snare, the kick, and the hi-hat set up to trigger some different functions within our feedback loop here. So what you're seeing when it changes like this is the feedback loop here being reset. So the snare hit is what's pulsing this feedback loop. So every time there's a snare hit in the song, this feedback loop just reverts. It starts over. And what you can kind of see happening in some of the spaces where there are fewer pulses is that the feedback loop makes the entire sphere kind of decay to this cool, noisy trail of, I don't know, stuff. And then, and then there's a couple other things. What are we messing with here? So in the feedback loop, there's a displace option. So I have, what do I have? Should have brought that out to a null because that's a mess. I just have the overall volume level of the song controlling the amount of displacement along the y-axis. Okay, so that's kind of what we have happening in terms of audio reactivity, except we also have, what was I setting this kick up for? Not sure. Where is this going? Looks like it's going to this blur. It is going to this blur. Okay, so we also have the hi-hats controlling the amount of blur. Yeah, okay, so we have a few degrees of audio reactivity, and when I turn everything back on, there's more because I'm also using the song to animate some camera movements. Okay, so anyway, but as far as creating a feedback loop to displace our particles, that's not really possible in SOPs. We can do it, however, in TOPs. So I have a very typical feedback loop from just in terms of my stuff. I almost always have a feedback top, a level top, and then some sort of displacement happening. So on the level, I just have, I think I did adjust my in low slightly, but mostly I have the opacity slightly down. That's all the same. I turned the clamp input to 0 to 1 off because it forces everything into the first quadrant of our Cartesian coordinates, so it looks like a little, I don't know, slice of pie up here instead of a sphere. So that needed to go off. And then we have our displace. Like I said, we've already seen that because we're using hi-hats to adjust it. And then within the displacement, we have noise. Let's see what my output is on that. Okay, so I just ran the level into the noise so it would just pick up its size. But as far as this noise, we have color noise. Looks like the exponent's probably 0 based on how it looks. And it's very low. Yeah, so I just tweaked this until it looked good, and then added pretty high slope, and then we've got this blur that's being adjusted by whatever it is, hi-hats, I think. All right, cool. So let's turn those camera animations back on because it does add something, I think. So, okay, so what do we have going on here? All right, so it looks like the camera's right up inside the sphere, which is why it looks so abstract. But if I recall correctly, with the field of view animated properly, it gets pretty interesting. Okay, so that's cool. So that's what we got going on. So what I did with this, by the way, this is kind of why it started to look more, I don't know, when I have the sound on it, it works better with the song when it's doing this. So what I have going on is I have the FOV angle. I have it kind of on a gentle curve based on these patterns, this kind of the timeline setup that I do in a lot of my stuff. So I have it following a sine wave based on this, which you can, I think I didn't even go through here. I just have it following this. No, that's not true. It's coming out of here. Yeah, okay, 80 to 105. That looks like an FOV value. So I have that, and then I took the channel for the kick as well, and after messing with it a bit, I think that's what was going on over here. Yeah. So I took all this stuff over here, and then basically every time the kick pulses, the FOV angle of the camera gets a value of 10 added to it. So you can kind of see it jumping in and out a bit more there. So that's kind of the main, that's what was going on with the instancing. I kind of like it with the bigger rectangles. You can see it a bit better. Let's add bloom back in and see. So the bloom sort of blurs it too much now. If I pull that intensity, I don't think it needs to be that much. Oh yeah, much better. Just a little extra. All right, cool. So anyway, this is not super far from where I ended up last night. So that's what's happening. So this is cool, but I feel like it could be expanded upon. I feel like we could probably tweak some parameters to make some cool things happen in this feedback loop. I just want to mess with some some more stuff. I'm going to leave this Russian Circle song playing, controlling everything. I'm going to leave the audio down now, just because it's a good, very dynamic song with very loud drums. The song is called Harper Lewis. I also don't want to just like illegally use it in my video any more than I already have. So anyway, I'll leave it on controlling things. You can, I guess, just kind of imagine that there is some rockin' music making this thing behave the way it is. So let's try some stuff. I kind of wanted to see what would happen if I brought in a 3D model and used that instead of a sphere as my starting point. So I really like that Spider-Man 3D model that doesn't really look like Spider-Man. This thing. Got that up CG Trader, which I've shown you. Alright, so yeah, let's start with, may have to transform this thing. I can't remember how big it is. Alright, what's wrong here? What's the problem? Oh. How does this not have normals? Compute normals if none exist. So it should be outputting normals, right? Let's get rid of that noise. I mean, it's pretty annoying. It should just do it for me, right? Alright, it's working again. It's just can't see anything. Alright, so let's shrink it. I think it's too big to really see. Let's bypass all this stuff for a minute. Alright, so where does this thing land? So, okay, so that's right. I remember, we gotta move it down. Looks pretty good. How big is that in relation to our sphere? Much smaller. Okay. So let's make this a bit bigger. We have way fewer particles too. That's probably. Yeah, I don't know if this one's gonna work. Let's try it. Ooh, it might be cooler. Sorry, bear with me. I'm trying to find a 3D model that'll work. And I have a very detailed. Ooh, that one of the hand might be work good. What's this? Oh, that's kind of cool. Shit, I need to make sure I show that one. I'm going to show that to my phone right now. Cool. wonder if the night shift shows on the screen recording. If the screen just turned orange, it's just because it's late and my computer's trying to tell me to go to sleep. Okay, what do we get? We get Buddha. I don't think that's big enough. That's definitely not. Skeleton might be. This is the one I was looking for. Or here's the hand. Let's take them both. Let's go back into Touchdesigner. Alright. I don't know how to detail this thing yet. Okay. Alright, that's interesting. Let's see what the hand looks like. This is all fucked up though. How big is this thing? Oh, god damn it. It's massive. Let's normalize that a bit. Too bad. Let's translate that down. Not where I want it to be yet, but what is killing my frame rate? Is it this hand? Is it the face? Don't really know. We haven't been at the frickin' origin yet. So you scale before you translate. Alright, that seems pretty good. Where are you on the z-axis? Of course you're not. Almost there. Okay, that seems. Who freaking knows? Alright, it's there. It's touching the origin. Brilliant, wonderful. Okay, cool. Let's scale that back. Alright, whatever. Alright, let's see. Okay. Not mattering yet. Let's reconnect this stuff. Trying to make the effect less obvious, but I think since the feedback loop has an add composite at the end of it, it's actually making it faster because I'm making the input to the add darker, which means it's getting smaller. What if I did that? Maybe I need to blur this up a bit more. Yeah, there we go. Too much. That's kind of cool. Not really what I was looking for, but hey, what do you do? Okay. No, it's not really making much difference. Blur, yeah, it's making a difference. What if I pre-shrink? Now, alright. Time to get weird. Maybe this is moving too fast. It is moving fast as fuck. What if I did that? Not 1.1. Oh. Okay, the hand's kind of cool. What does Spider-Man look like? Spider-Man looks like nothing. What does Hair Star look like? Also nothing. I'd like to make this maybe a little smaller. I want the camera to be outside of it when it resets. Maybe 0.6. There, 0.4. happens if I don't displace the normals? If I do that. Oh, let me just add. I could add, it just blows apart. I guess I could turn the opacity on a level down a bit. And how much do you have to go? I'm just tweaking parameters here, seeing if anything grabs my eye. Right now, just bringing the displace weight down to not much, just to see. Let's just bring it back up. It's more interesting when it was higher. Yeah, I don't know, it's not that interesting. Over it was doing some stuff, so it was at least kind of cool. This has to be like I don't know, it's just, it's so, that's alright, I guess. It's kind of interesting, I have like a third eye type situation. I was hoping if I moved this higher, it would move it up on the y-axis, but no such luck. Let's bring it back down a bit. Getting kind of interesting. Cool. Sort of interested to see what would happen with just the plain old sphere. Oh, hell yes. Although now we have something weird going on with the sphere. Kill the bouncing, sorry. I really like it except for the seam in the sphere. Yeah, there's a way to fix that, but I'm not sure what it is. What if I make it polygon? Oh. Uh-oh. Thought maybe I tanked it, but that looks... Oh, shit. Cool. That's pretty sweet. I love when crazy shit like that happens. What happens if we jack the display height? It just looks like chaos. Coming down. If we just go a little more. Yes. Sweet. Okay. Okay, I think we need to pull the camera back a little bit. Man, it's this being good at this. Alright, so cool. So, okay, so we found some new, things that can be done with this. What about, so that's polygon. We looked at mesh. It's going to tank everything. For primitive. So that broke everything, so no primitive. These ones scare me. Let's find out though. That's pretty nice. Still have the seam. Yep. Right there. I see it. Shit. It's quite lovely. I don't think it does have a seam. That's pretty nice. Well, all right, there we go. We've messed with this. I'm happy with what I'm seeing, so I think we'll wrap this one up.